Hello, I'm FireGuard, and we're doing another long rambling video where I talk about Ashes of Creation. Today we're talking about the resources that are available for Ashes of Creation. The short version of this video, go to Ashes Codex, look at everything there, and you should be set. So Ashes Codex is going to be the primary focus for this video, but I just want to touch on a couple of other places quick. So ashesofcreation.com is the homepage for Ashes of Creation. In the top right, you can sign in, and then, there's the other tabs here. There's not exactly very much to explore. This is kind of not really like useful stuff that's on here. So you can like look at the archetypes if you just want like a basic preview of, what a class is supposed to be able to do. And like you can get a brief preview of like their skills and guesstimate how their playstyle is. And then whenever they introduce secondary archetypes, this just is the names of what the combinations will be with the other classes. That's pretty much the only real use for this. You can also go to the forums. When you go to the forums, you have to sign in a second time. I don't know why, but that is what it is. And if you want to do like more complete feedback on an issue, or if you actually have feedback, this is the recommended platform that you use. You can type in the Discord and say stuff there, but it doesn't really matter, I'll say. So that's just the Ashes of Creation website, and then the forums tab on the top right. The Ashes of Creation wiki is a pretty decent website. The problem is that this website is basically a catalog of every promise Steven has ever made, and it doesn't reflect the actual game or has useful information for the current game as it stands right now. So I mean, if you have like zero idea what Ashes of Creation is about, you can go to the wiki. It is kind of slow for like loading. Like I click on weapons and then like literally 5 seconds later the website finally starts loading. And part of that I'm guessing is because there's like a bazillion hyperlinks to everything Steven's ever said as a reference in an interview from years or times long ago. But yeah, if you're looking for like in-depth, like factual things that have been stated, I guess this is the website you could go to, like for things that are planning to come into the game but aren't in there yet. This is kind of like the blueprint website of what will be eventually in the future. That's pretty much it for the wiki. It's just a blueprint for the future. It's not really useful for like looking at quest chains or other things that are like that. So yeah, we'll just leave it at that for now. Yeah, no comment on Ashes of Creation. Like sometimes the devs will comment on here, but that's pretty much it. The Ashes MMO is like the only other website that I've seen that's like worth poking at so far. So the main reason I would use this website is for two things. One, the crafting calculator. So if I want to make rubidium gloves, I can click here and I can see all of the different materials I'll need. But you'll have to keep in mind that there's no like rarity calculator on this website, which you'll see on the Ashes Codex website. So I would recommend ashesmmo.com if you're looking for just a full shopping list on a per item and then just the raw silver cost. So, you might look at, okay, griffin leather, and then you can see it's all the different stuff that's used in, for example. And it looks like that there's a lot of space for comments on stuff, but, nobody's really using this actively that I know of. So I'm going to close out of here. And then now for the main thing. So Ashes Codex is the most complete and like I'll say best website to use for like researching Ashes of Creation stuff or like learning recipes and like planning, etc. So I'm just going to start off with the map that shows the world. So the Ashes of Creation map is pretty big right now. On like the fastest mount, it takes like 15 minutes or like almost 20 minutes to get from like one end to the other. Maybe half an hour if you go the full corner to corner. So you don't really want to be like running around exploring, researching things on your own because of the scale of the map. It's just too big. So let's just start looking at the buttons here. So I'm just going to hide everything just to make it a little bit clearer. So I guess just to start off quick. So each node, which is these outlined borders. So if you're in this node, you get all the benefits of being in the node. So like Mirleth has like a 5% HP buff, but if you're a citizen, it's 10%. But that only applies if you're within the border of the node, which includes Carfin. So filters is just everything that you can view on the map. So if you click on something, it'll show up. If you unclick it, it'll hide itself. I would recommend just clicking hide all as soon as you get to this, and then you can, like, you know, I know the map, so I don't show nodes, but if you're, like, you know, looking at this place for the first time, I would recommend just showing all the nodes. Routes. So these are like routes. There are public routes and there are private routes. So these are private ones I made a long time ago. They're probably outdated. So some people make public routes. So this is probably, it says duck. My guess is that this is a mining route from what I can tell. So they run up and then this is the route that they take, and they just made it public. There's a caravan route someone made there. This looks like an actual pretty good caravan route to take because there's not a lot of stuff in this middle part of the map. There's a fair number of people who pass through, but yeah. 9th and R to NA. So if you're looking for like caravan routes that people might be doing, this is a decent option. And then some of these are literally just blank or just markers for different nodes. Like this Braidwood one is pretty interesting to see that someone had taken the time to mark out all the different Braidwood nodes that they had found. I know that there's like at least one over here and like some down here. So, and like one here, but so they don't have everything, but this is a pretty good thing to have access to. And it looks like that the public routes aren't too long, but the more people use it, the more they add. So that's the routes. I don't actually know what markers are for. I'm guessing that's just if you like right click add marker, app to create a new marker or note. So I'm guessing that's just for your personal use. Search bosses. Okay, I didn't know that this was an option. So you can just search like specific mobs. So you see how there's like 20 different alpha wolves. This is for each individual spawn of alpha wolf and like where it can pop up. Yeah, and then clicking that just enabled like all of these. So I'm gonna go back to filters and we're just gonna hide all of those again. So I don't use the search. Settings. I've personally never bothered touching the settings. Heat map for mob levels. That's kind of funny. Mob pathing. I think the only mob pathing there is right now is with Tumok up there. Is the Braidwood still on? Turn that off. Server. I don't think that there's a difference between selecting those. And then these are basically just shortcuts to like jump around the map. Clicking on those. And then this dungeon, this is what it looks like inside of the Fallen Forge. So let's go back to the Riverlands. Okay, now for the most useful part of the map, the filters. So suppose you are hunting. Okay, this is all of the creatures in the game that you can hunt. Suppose that you are just looking for bears. So you can hide all, and then you can only show bears. So if you're looking for bear hide, it looks like you would want to tame bears up here. Maybe you could stop up here when they're on cooldown, or you could do like a big loop around the map. Chances are it looks like you would be fine taming bears if you just stay in this area and kind of go back and forth. And it's the same for like griffins, for example. There's not very many griffin spawns, so good luck like accidentally discovering these on your own when there's so many other people who are also looking for griffins. There's literally like 10 at most on the map, it looks like. So this is how I would recommend looking for huntables. You can see like where they spawn, and then you can just go there and then wait for them to spawn. We'll talk about spawn timers later. So that's hunting creatures. Hidden caches. So when you, why does it only show those? It should show a lot more than that. Oh, here it is. Treasure mounds, that's what I meant. So when you do treasure maps, the boxes for the treasure maps spawn in fixed locations. So when you do a treasure map, you want to look at where the 3 circles on the map overlap, and where all the circles overlap is a range that one of these can be in. So the treasures can only spawn in these areas. So if you're like, oh my gosh, I cannot find a treasure cache on the ground, what do I do? First off, you just change your graphics to low. Secondly, you would want to open this map up and you would want to see where the stuff is. It's like, oh, okay, it's like right here. And you can click on it and it'll show you an XY coordinate, and you can hit page up on the keyboard, like the page up key, and it'll show you your coordinates on the map, and you can like line them up with this to make sure you're actually on top of where the map spawns. So Ash's Codex, very good for treasure mounds, like for doing treasure maps. Sorry, my cat is crawling on me. So next would be spawns. So you're looking for things to kill to level up. So we'll hide all. So in general, if you are solo, you only want to kill things that are general or elite 1. If you have more friends, you'll be able to kill like 2-star and 3-star, or maybe 1-star if there's like a really high density. So you're gonna get to, let's say, 1 through like 5 solo. So you don't really, I'll just say 1 through 5, you only want to kill things that are like at your level or higher. You only really want to punch down if you have like a really high density. So you don't want to kill things that are too much higher. So like 5 through like 8, maybe 5 through 9 is like the level range you would want to look for. So here's the map, like level 5 through 9 mobs. So you can see if you want to level in the desert, you're going to have a really bad time. You're basically going to be like locked to killing Grems and wolves that are within the little zones of influence. In the tropics, there are basically no options. So until you hit to level 10, you're basically locked to the Riverlands. And then just for like reference, we're going to set that to 0. So as you see, as like the level climbs up, you slowly crawl your way out from the center of the map. And then once you hit like 10, 11, then you start to, venture to other regions. You start to go to like the furthest places from the nodes, for example. So let's go back to our 5 to 9 range, which is where 90% of you guys are going to end up wondering what to do. So 5 through 9, let's look at this. I don't know why these red lines are on here. I don't think that I have routes enabled at all. Show users event markers, show only my markers. We're going to hide these. I'm sure there's something else that's causing them to show, but we'll just leave it at that for now. So 5 through 9, these are all the different types of mobs you can kill. Was my filter wrong before? Overcharge hardling. Yeah, these are 15. Why isn't this filter working anymore? 9, 5. There we go. Probably because I changed those other settings. Sorry, long side rant. So these are all the different nodes, or mobs that you can kill. So ideally, you want to kill things if they have a pretty high density. If you're solo, you're probably going to be stuck killing things one by one. So you don't want to like run too far. So like, this looks like it might be an okay area. I personally know that there's a spawn point there. So, you'd have a place to respawn if you die. You can come back and kill stuff down here, kill stuff to the side. So this looks like it would be a decent area. There's some 1-star griffins. So if you like want to be risky, you could try that. I would not recommend it unless you're like maybe a cleric or a bard. It looks like up here, there's a whole bunch of cursed skeletons, but it looks like there's some 1-starred mobs in there. And I know skeletons hit hard, so maybe you don't want to farm those. And that was from my computer, not your guys's. Don't worry about the Discord sound. And then it looks like that there's a pretty decent number that is like kind of in a line here. Those would be decent. So let's keep filtering. So in this game, only humanoids and undead drop gear. Beasts, avian, arcana, like all those other types, they only drop poop or glint. So when you're leveling up, you really want to get gear. So the best leveling route, 1 through 10, is 1 through 25, honestly, is going to be killing humanoids and undead in general. So if we look at the humanoids and undead, okay, so we have like one really big spot here, maybe 2 or 3 groups can fit here. Another group can fit here, maybe like 2 or 3 groups can fit here. Looks like you can kill all those like defender knights and skeletons, or you could go to the grave peak and kill the skeletons there. So your options are like, even though there are a whole bunch of options to kill, like the best things aren't as many. I'm not going to go too much more in depth than this, just because this is like an overview of the website. So let's just show like the 2-star and the 3 stars. Like if you're in a group, it doesn't look like that there's much like mass group farming that you could even attempt if you wanted to. So let's bump it up to like 15 to like level 10. And then we'll turn on the 1 stars too. So level 15 to 10, it looks like you can come out to the tropics, kill some choppers. It looks like that there's a lot of like warhorns, berserkers that you could kill out here that look decent. You could turn on the general options, and there's a couple more, but it looks like 10 through 15 is going to be kind of rough because there's just not as many picks to go from. But that's pretty much in terms of the characters there. So we're going to hide everything. You can see the freeholds, which you can buy with 100 gold or something after like the first week or two. Right now, freeholds are pretty much dead, but supposedly long term they're going to be good. Personally, I'm not planning on buying one. We'll see what happens. So we'll hide the freeholds. Ember Springs. So when you die, when you get close enough to want to activate it, so you can see where all the Ember Springs are. Like, okay, we're farming over here. Is there an Ember Spring close by? Yes, there's one. Halcyon. Let's go get it, and then we'll come back, for example. Vendors and crafting. So if you need to tier up your profession, you can view them on here. So it's like, okay, the agricultural suppliers here, the fashion specialist, the hide worker, the smithy. So if you need to promote your profession to like level 10 stuff, or if you need to buy like bags or something, you can go to those places, for example, if there's not one in the town. Although the general seller in the towns should, like the equipment vendor, should have all the basic bags for you anyway. So let's scroll down here. Further down, you can see the stones and metals and gems. So granite and basalt are like, yeah, you can just see where all this stuff spawns. So that only spawns in the Riverlands, but volcanic rock only spawns out here in the tropics. So as you change zones, like the level 1 stuff versus like the level 2 stuff, it changes based on like which zone you're in. The only problem right now is that there are no crafting recipes, basically. I mean, there are some, but like 95% of the good crafting recipes are all in the Riverlands. So the tropics and the desert are sort of dead, but we'll see if they change that. They've already added like Joshua trees down here. There's none in Ash's Codex yet, and those are useful right now, and those are go for a decent amount of money. So as they add more, players will have a reason to spread out from the Riverlands to the other new zones. But this is just the starting of the game in an alpha. So that's pretty much the map. You can also look up like specific named mobs. You can see like where they spawn and like what they drop. So let's look at Riverlord Otter. It doesn't look like it drops anything special. What? River Runner Rigs? Nothing. Do these not have loot tables? There we go. So the first is like generics. We can look at that in the database section. So that's pretty much the map. Let's close out of that and move on to the next area. So we're gonna look at the database. We're gonna look at like the character planner sheet, and then like the other tools like the crafting calculator. But let's start with the database. So this is every item that is in the game. So ashescodex.com. I guess we'll start with the homepage. You can see here the new items that are in the patch. So you can like click on this and it'll show you like, okay, these are all the things that are added in the patch, the cloaks, and then it'll also show you like possibly unobtainable. I'll tell you, I personally have like 2 of these in my inventory, so I know that it is obtainable, but I would plan on anything that has this to basically be not obtainable. It's not considered a good idea to go for or plan around anything that has like this on it. I would recommend personally. And yeah, so this is everything that was added in the most recent patch, which is, you can see quite a bit of stuff. So let's go back to the home page. So in the other tabs here, these are important. Popular 7 days. Oh, where'd it go? Let me refresh here. Oh, looks like it's bugging out. Popular 30 days. Okay, and those would just load like the most commonly clicked on items. So it's a good way. It's like, I have no idea what everyone's looking for right now. Let's click on this, and then you'll see something like assault weapon mold, for example. And you can craft this using stone masonry, and you can see here that says novice stone masonry. Everyone gets all the novice skills by default, so that means that you don't have to go to a special crafter. You can make this yourself. You can see everything that's it's used in. If you wanted to make like a copper sword, you'd know that you would need a basalt weapon mold. If you have a way to make a bunch of basalt weapon molds, you can see the things it goes into to find out if it's actually worth making or not. So down here we see like herbalism, apprentice. So it looks like apprentice tools and novice tools both use basalt weapon molds. So that means for like at least the first 2 months, I would say, or a month or so, the basalt weapon mold should be in pretty high demand. Those ping noises you're hearing are from my Discord, so apologies. I'm not going to open that up here while I'm recording. So basalt weapon mold. This looks weird. Normally it shows like the full recipe. So like basalt fragments go into basalt mortar, and normally the basalt mortar is used in basalt weapon mold. I wonder if they changed it. It used to be that the basalt weapon mold took like a whole bunch of different stuff to make it. So this must be a new change. Let me check. Granite armor mold. I just want to see if it's the same thing. Okay, it looks like they took this away. I know that you used to be able to make these. Granite weapon mold. And like I said, this is like a changing system. Yeah, they must have changed it. So if we look up like what limestone weapon mold, I had to buy this from someone. Yeah, this is normally what it looks like for weapon mold, is that you need like a board, limestone, mortar, clay, and then as you can see here, it says that it needs weirdstone stand and fragments. I would trust Ash's Codex. If it says that it needs weirdstone, even though it's limestone, I would grab weirdstone, because chances are when you get to the recipe craft, that's what it's going to be. So you do want to look up stuff before you make it, because even though it says limestone, it might actually be taking weirdstone just because they haven't fixed it or something. So that's just an example. You search for, you know, like, let's say a griffin. So when you search, you get the actual tameable that you get from getting the outside thing. You get the list of all the different mobs that drop it in the world. You get like the hunting crafts that you do with it, and then each of the materials you get from the craft, what you use with the griffin hide to make it into griffin leather. You get the animal husbandry of like griffin stuff. By the way, there is no animal husbandry like of this yet. There's no breeding of animals yet. And then you get like just the meat for cooking, and then it'll tell you like all the different armors that the griffin have the word griffin in the name. And then these are like possible obtainables in game. So these eagle griffins are not obtainable, I know. There is no flying mounts that are obtainable for non-mayors at this time, and then, you know, etc. So butcher griffin, we can't breed griffins yet, etc. And then like there's the lumber milling food that you buy from the vendor, also has the word griffin in it, so it shows up when I search for it. Let's look at the actual database now. So weapons, we'll click on all weapons. So this is every weapon that they have like in the database, and as you can see, some of the stuff has really weird recipes like corrupted ash timber, and then there's no attributes that go with it. A lot of this stuff doesn't actually exist in game, or if it does, then it's not obtainable, so you have to like use your best judgment. My personal recommendation is to know what type of weapon you're using and like search for that. So I pretty much every class right now is going to be using two-handed sword. So we know that if we're using two-handed sword, we're either going to be magical or physical. So in the stats filter, we'll type in like physical. Actually, can we type just, yeah, you type power. So you either want magical power rating or like physical power rating. So we'll search physical power rating. So this is all of the physical weapons in the game. And then I will click on the physical power rating here to sort it. So just at like default rarity, like just obtaining the item, this is the power for all the items if you just got it as like a random drop in game. So you see here how it says 0, and then at the right side it says at high rarity. So at heroic, this firebrand two-handed sword doesn't have strength, but if you make it like a legendary, or maybe it's heroic or something, I'm not sure where the breakpoint is, if it's epic or something, it looks like once it hits epic, that's when it gains the strength stat. So that's another way you can tell. So physical power rating, let's set everything to heroic rarity. So if everything was at heroic rarity, the item with the highest physical power would be this item. So let's take a look at it. I'm going to tell you off the bat, this isn't obtainable. I just know that because I've looked it up before. So if you hold your mouse over this link for a crafting recipe, you'll see on the bottom right hand corner where that little like crossed off no icon is. So that means that basically this isn't obtainable. So you can't craft this weapon. So that's a good way to like know it's like, okay, so even though this is the best two-handed physical weapon in the game, it's not actually obtainable. So that's just good to know. You can hold your mouse over this and just see that, oh, it's not obtainable. Okay, back we go. I would like for them to add like a little box that says like if the item or materials to make the item are marked as possibly not obtainable, please exclude those from the search. I would like that as like a checkbox just so people don't see this and like, oh, where do you get Karen's stone heart? Because you can't. So if everything is at heroic rarity, it looks like it is a three-way tie between Sorrow's Edge, the Firebrand two-handed sword, and the Tumok Great Hands two-handed sword. So just, you know, let's go up to epic. So just using like your, I guess we'll call it your brain. So if these are all at epic rarity, how do you know which one of these three is the best, even though they all have the same rating? So this one has like evasion, critical power, critical avoidance. This one has strength, armor, constitution, and then this one has like strength, physical penetration, physical critical power. So between all three of these, the Firebrand two-handed sword has the best offensive stats. The Great Sword for Briarholm might have the best stats if you're like a tank, just because of the high constitution, that it's like a baseline 6. So that's pretty high. The armor is kind of useless. The regeneration rating is kind of useless, but it's a lot cheaper to craft because it uses dried braidwood instead of using steel ingots, because coal is very difficult to get right now versus like braidwood. So that's basically just how you look up an item, and then you can scroll down by physical power rating. But you look at this and it's like, oh, what about this item? So it has 26 strength. So even though the physical power range is lower than these up here, if you multiply 20 times 3, which is 60, so if you add that on, so 371, so that makes this like as like a minimum roll of this. I lost it. Where'd it go? Oh, here it is. A minimum roll of this Bone Shard Greatsword is going to be better than even the maximum roll of any of these really good items. So it's like, oh, okay, that looks like a good item, so let's click on it. So if you hold your mouse over this, oh, like it looks like it should be craftable, right? So okay, so we can get steel, we can get braidwood, we can get limestone, we can get wormwood. What's this Viscera's Broken Blade? So you can click on that, and then you can click on drop by. It's like, oh, it looks like it should be droppable by something to make the Bone Shard Greatsword. So let's click on that to see where it spawns, and there's nothing. There's no red dot on the map. I will tell you right now, I've looked this up. Basically, this boss doesn't exist. If it did, it would easily be the best in slot sword. So this is the kind of research that you have to do if you want to find like where the best drop is. And I did write this in like 2 months ago that it's unobtainable at this time. Yeah, just so that people don't waste their time like I did. Yeah, so that's the basics of how you use the database. So that's how we would like look up a two-handed sword, right? We would set a fixed rarity at like a medium or higher range. We would look at the stats and we would compare them with like the highest physical power and the secondary stats and be like, okay, this is probably the best one. But so these two are really close. This one's better, but this one's a lot easier to get. So let's go for the Tumok two-handed sword instead, because steel is too much of a pain to get. Or glittering steel is really painful to get, so this is basically never going to be an option. And then suppose you can't get Tumok bark, suppose you can't get steel. Well, the next best option would be like Ruvidium, so you'd be stuck using this. But you see, like the Goblin Skin Stripper is like 284 versus like the 338. So it's like a very significant drop off if you have to drop down to Ruvidium. So you would like, this would be like the plan C option if you really can't get any of these better ones. All right, moving on to the database. I mean, it's pretty much the same, right? Like you can view all armor for hands, and you can view like the weight category. You can filter if something has strength in it. And then you can also view like if it's medium, heavy, or light, or if you just want to look at all hands. Right now, it's basically not worth playing around the set pieces. The only one that's maybe worth it would be the medium 5-piece set, which has a little bit of move speed, and the 3-piece heavy set, which has base mitigation. But like I said, not really worth playing around. It's better to just get better stats at this time. But these are all the different armor pieces. Okay, and then accessories. Honestly, it's the same thing. If you're like a physical class user, you would just want to look at stuff that has strength or physical power, and then you'd want to increase the rarity to like, okay, so I can get this at green and it has all the offensive stats. Like I could increase it to blue or like purple, but none of these actually add DPS. So what if we increase it to like heroic? Nope, it only goes up to, the strength doesn't change, and it only gains like 2 physical power. So like a green Everlasting Sower's neck is basically as good as a heroic Everlasting Sower. Like you get 1 constitution more. Like that's not worth all the extra effort of getting those extra mats. You're better off just spending your time making more money, and or like you get this as a filler item and then eventually you upgrade to a Kingfish, for example. Yeah, so that's gear. So let's move on to other types of items. So artesian items, let's look at just like shirts quick. So you can filter by, let's say we only care about fishing. So fishing, so one thing you'll notice is that all armor of a type has XP rating for that type. So if we only care about, actually, Apprentice Cook shirt does not have cooking XP, so never mind. I was going to say use XP rating to filter, but you might be better off just searching this way. Apprentice fish. So that'll show you what the apprentice fishing pants are, the apprentice fishing shirt. That might be easier than actually going down this list and searching. So yeah, and then the bags sometimes have like fishing speed increase rating. Some of them have like rarity increases. So there's the bag, there are the shirts and pants, there is the tool belt. And then let's look at the tools. So this is the other important part you'll want to look at. So let's say we want to get a journeyman hunting bow. So journeyman hunting, let me type out the whole thing. So we have 5 options. Let's open these up in different tabs. This is the first option. It's a default recipe everyone gets: hunting speed, hunting rarity. So in my opinion, the only thing that really matters is rarity. So hunting XP, hunting speed, so neither of those things really help you out. There is no higher tier than journeyman currently, so XP is literally just a dead stat. So that one's pretty useless. Hunting rarity, hunting speed, that one looks pretty good. Hunting speed, hunting XP rating, that doesn't look very good, so we'll close out that one. And then hunting speed, hunting rarity, so that looks pretty good. So we have 3 options to choose from that increase our rarity. The one that increases the rarity the most is this one. But if you hold your mouse over the recipe link here, you'll see on the bottom right how it has that little circle closed off. So you actually cannot obtain this recipe. So even though you're looking for the one with the most rarity increase, you can't actually craft the Journeyman Hunting Bow 3. It's just not available. So we will close out of this one. So we're left with 2 rarity increasing bows. But if we hold our mouse over this one, there's not an option to actually make it. So you can't make this split speed hunting rarity one. So you can't make this one either. So if you want rarity on your bow, you're literally stuck with the default option that you get when you first make your journeyman hunting bow. And then I'll also say, like, that the default, like, if you may even be better off just sticking with an apprentice hunting bow if you don't need to hunt journeyman animals. Yeah, so I guess just keep that in mind. So that's an example of how you look up the tools. Recipes, I personally never use this tab. This is all the recipes that are in the game. Like I said, never use the tab. Consumables, a lot of this stuff you'll see is unobtainable. So I personally don't ever touch the drinks tab. The elixirs, like, you need an alchemy station. You know, you can hold your mouse over it. You can see the materials that it requires. You can hold your mouse over the little icon to see if it's obtainable. So let's look at the carpentry one just for example. So it says that you can't craft this, but if you click on sold by, you'll see that the carpentry vendor sells it. Something it doesn't tell you is that this only is available if the town is upgraded with the carpentry buff, I believe. I'm not 100% sure on that, but and then you can click on the recipe breakdown and it'll show you all the different like materials that you need to make it. So let's continue with consumables, potions, salves, scrolls, survey pylons, etc. You get the idea. You can scroll through this on your own. So like this one gives you more arcane engineering experience, but if you click on it, if you click on the sold by, you'll see that you can just buy it at the vendor. So there's no point in like ever really crafting this, for example. Let's see, bags. Like I said before, some of them have, so if it's for a spec like herbalism, it'll have the capacity increase. So that means that instead of stacking to 20 dandelions, you can stack 30 dandelions or like 50. So that first number, resource capacity, is how big the stack is for that type of item. And then some of them also have like rarity increases. So you may want to, you can buy the default common one from the vendor, but maybe you want to make a heroic one and you get a bit more rating. It'll cost you a lot more money, but you'll get more rating out of it. So that's another way to like upgrade your gathering potential. Beasts of burden. So these are the mounts that pull your caravan. Whenever you do, so you do hunting, you capture the animal, you either get a carcass or you get a tameable. If you finish taming, it'll either be a mount or it'll be a beast of burden. These are usually called bobs, beasts of burdens. So in general, the only one that really matters is the top stat, general speed rating. So you can see like, oh, okay, bears are not very good, but a brew beast bear would be pretty good. And then if you get like a higher rating one, like, oh wow, look, it's like so much faster compared to just a common one, etc. And I mean, that's pretty much it, right? Like you just compare like, okay, it looks like the horses are like really bad at the basic level, but the midnight mares are apprentice. See, it says required level 10 are apprentice tier, but look at that, it's like 82 just for a level 10 tame compared to like some of these other ones that are like much lower overall, or obsidians that's 82 for level 10. So ideally you want like one of those two, for example. Even like the level 20 is like only 1 point faster and it costs a lot more to tame. So that's how you use that. These are the mounts in the game. I don't really use this section because there's just so much that are dead. And it also has like caravals, but there's no like information on it, so I don't really use that. Relics are new. These are all of the relics that are in game currently. It doesn't describe how to get them, for example, but it just says that it's dropped by Firebrand, but there's more requirements to get it to drop. It's not just an RNG drop. Resources, so these are like crafting recipes, basically, like things that you can make with crafting or stuff that drops. I don't really use the resources tab ever, so I'm actually just going to skip over it. But you can see all the different types of like metals, the raw plants that are in game, the different types of gems you can get, like emeralds, halcyonite, stuff like Grandmaster, Master, like those don't exist in the game, right? We're just at Journeyman and Apprentice right now, so you don't see any of those higher end stuff. And this is the raw, like you can go to the process tab and there's an all processed, but it doesn't break it down by category. All right, now for the bottom part, abilities. So this is the data mined, like what it is for each of these abilities. I know in game it says 9% base crit chance, so I'm not sure why it says 6% here. Maybe I'm wrong, and this should be 10%, and then this should be like 30%, but it doesn't say in here, for example. So I don't really use this ability section ever myself. I don't use the mobs. I don't use any of this bottom stuff really. These are all the different like points of interest on the game. So this is like general areas where you want to farm. There's XP tables. You can see like how much XP you need to level up between each level, and like how much weapon XP or gathering crafting, how much guild XP you need to like get your guild up between the different levels. So that's pretty much it for the database section. So let's move on to the other options that are here. So we looked at the map, we looked at the database. Yeah, none of that stuff really matters. I guess status effects would be good to look at. So if you're like, okay, what does bleeding do? What does it mean when I'm disarmed? So it means that I can't auto attack for 4 seconds. Okay. So frozen means I can't move or rotate my screen. Frozen immune, so like if you gotten frozen and rooted a whole bunch, that means you can't be frozen and rooted again for a while. Hemorrhaging, 20% weapon damage every 0.5 seconds, and it lasts 5 seconds, so that means 200% weapon damage. Okay, so this means like it's probably something good to like cleanse. If I see this icon, that means that I can't heal them anymore, so I shouldn't bother trying to heal those people. So this is a good tab to like read through, I guess, status effects down here. Let's look at build planner. Okay, so build planner is you can like save weapon trees or like layouts. So let's just pick ranger because that's what I play. And it doesn't matter what you put for DPS. If you don't select a class, then you don't get a skill tree. So if you're wondering why there's no skill tree, just remember to like select a drop down menu option here. So skill tree, it'll show you the skill tree and you can like click on stuff, but some stuff is wrong. So like negative 1000% physical damage, I'll tell you that's probably not correct. It doesn't heal your enemies. But disengage, and it doesn't show you the lines either. So like I can't see that until I pick this talent, I can only pick this. So like the lines don't show up here. In general, when I'm like, this is a way to view the skill tree offline. If you can log into the game, it's always best to just do it through there instead. But if you're waiting for the game to come up and you just want to read through all the skills, I would recommend going through each of the classes and reading all of their abilities to see what they do. And then the stamina tree, this is universal between each person. It doesn't tell you how many points like you've actually spent. So you can like spend, yeah, it doesn't really tell you, and it doesn't tell you like what level is required. So you can't really like plan out super cleanly. I mean, this one will go down, but it won't tell you like, okay, you have to be level 10 to spend this many points. So you don't actually know how, what level you'll be. So you'll be level 12 by the time you unlock this, but you wouldn't know that unless you're playing in game. This top row. So requires 10 points in previous skills. You spend the 10th point. These unlock. You only get 10 skill points once you hit level 12. Equipment. So what you actually use the build planner for. So you pick the main weapon hand slot. It will show you every one-handed weapon and every two-handed weapon in the game. So you can't like pick like, okay, what daggers can I use, or like what two-handed great swords. You're kind of just stuck searching for like power, physical power rating. Maybe you're looking for great sword. So you'll notice that a lot of the great swords have the word great sword in them. So if we type in great sword, you'll see the options here, and then we will sort by physical power rating so that the best stuff, I guess I'll say, shows up on top. It will also include stuff that's not obtainable like this. So you kind of have to already know what your build is before you even start this. And then you can filter by like, okay, I only want, level 20 weapons, right? Because that's the only things that matter. So you only get these like 10 options, right? But there's no, so since I search for greatsword, that means that I don't see the stone, where is it? Gate Warden's Will? I guess they changed the name. Yeah, so Gate Warden's Will is actually a two-handed greatsword. So if I search for greatsword, this option wouldn't show up. So you're kind of stuck. You know that this one's not obtainable. You know that the Bone Shard greatsword's not obtainable. And then like you have to fix the rarity rating so that they're all the same, etc. And then that's how you pick it. So let's say we're gonna put on the Sorrow's Edge two-handed epic sword, which is not realistic to get. So you can pick the enchant level. Normally, you do not go higher than 8. If it's an expensive item, you generally don't go higher than like 6 or 7. If you're like a YOLO, no lifer, like I have no idea what's going on, you can go all the way up to 12. But so we pick it up to 8. So the quality, so you see this range, that's the quality. So if we pick 100%, it'll be 404. If we pick 0%, it'll be the minimum roll. In general, I would bank on only getting the minimum roll, but just know that the more quality of the items, the higher the range you can be in that. So we'll hit select and it'll show up there. And then whenever we're done, we can hit save and we can share it. And then you can also see like the weapon skill tree, but I don't really like using the weapon skill tree because like, I'm clicking crushing blows, but like nothing's happening, right? That's because I didn't spend points down here, but it doesn't like have the lines connecting them. So it does like light up when you unlock the next level, for example, and stuff. So you can like play around with the weapon skill trees, but just know that like when things light up, that means that they're connected, even though they don't have the lines on here. Yeah, and I mean, that's kind of it. The main problem with this page is that so let's say, oh, okay, a Sorrow's Edge, that looks neat. So you click on it, right? But it doesn't, like, nothing happens. So it's like, okay, okay, so now I have to open up another tab. I have to search Sorrow's Edge. I have to try and find it. I can't, like, click on it and, like, take me a link to, like, okay, where do I get this item? So I can't, like, click on it and go there. It also doesn't show you, like, a character stats summary. So it's not like, okay, so my gear set's all complete. How much strength do I have? How much physical power do I have? What if I increase the enchant level of 1 by everything? You can't find out that stuff here. So you have to, like, do mental math and, like, to find out what you would end up at. In that first, like, Ash's Armory website, it does do that. So if you're putting together a character sheet stuff, I would recommend that for the time being. And then finally, let's look at the other tools. So that's the build planner, builds. So this is just like what other people recommend that you play. I looked at the Ranger one, and honestly, it looked good. I would recommend, if you don't know what you're doing, go ahead and go to Ash's Codex and then follow this. I would recommend this. It looks good. It has a simple explanation. I agree with the general specking of what they have here. So yeah, I would say go ahead and follow the build guides on here. And then, so that's the guides. You can read stuff on here. I don't know how closely I would follow it. I would read over, treasure maps. How accurate is the Firebrand guide? So the boss can spawn in, like, multiple locations. It's not necessarily just here outside of Steel Bloom. Those are the drops. It can drop heroic to legendary, but you're basically like 99.9999% of the time getting just heroic tier for drops. Like this breastplate doesn't drop as far as I know. I've never seen it drop off of Firebrand for all the kills that we've done. Yeah, otherwise I guess the abilities are okay. You're best off probably just looking up a YouTube video of someone doing the kill itself though. So that's the guides. Artesian. So this is probably the other most useful thing. So 1 is the database, 2 is the map, is very useful. 3 is this crafting calculator. So you click on this, and then let's say we want to make the two-handed sword for Tumok. So we do Briarholm, and then we want to make the great sword. Okay, so you don't know this, but if a town has an option to do a quest or a commission that increases the rarity of all crafted items by 250 if you're in that town. So when you're making like really good stuff that costs a lot of money, you want that buff to be up. So that'll be 250. And you can buy baseline faux clothes and consumables, and that gives you about 500 rating. So let's say it gives you 450. So 450 plus 250 is 700. So let's say you have 700 quality rating just from gear, buff, and like all your different stuff that you have on. So you can like hit the plus sign, and you can like, instead of being a stack of 20 commons, you can do like, let's say 10 and 10. So let's say we have like 10 legendary, and then we have like 10 heroic. And then we get really unlucky and we only get rare griffin feathers. So as you see, with 10 legendary, 10 heroic braidwood, we get like a 341 is our estimated craft output when the weaponsmith makes it for us. So it's like, okay, what if we got epic and only legendary? Okay, so we go from 340 up to 358. Well, that's pretty good. What if we bump up like the griffin feathers to heroic, right? So as you see, like the heroic griffin feather goes from 361 to 359, so you're only gaining 2 physical power for increasing a rarity tier of those two. So it's like, okay, maybe it's not worth bumping those two up. What if we do like, let's say 5 epic and then we do 15 legendary? Okay, so we get to like 367. So it's probably cheaper to bump up the griffin feather and the bone instead of bumping up these anymore. Okay, so let's say we get a full 20 legendary braidwood. How high are we getting? Wow, full 20 legendary braidwood, we're getting 380 physical power from the greatsword. That's pretty good. So let's say our crafter has even better clothes. Like let's say they have like 950. Like they're just dedicated to the game. So you go from 380 to 381. It's like, oh, that's not so great. But what if we drop these down to like rare? So you lose 2 physical power to like save that money. So let's split this up. So what if we go like, let's say we go back to like 18 and like 2 epic. So like, oh, okay, so that's a big drop. So we really want to keep like these legendary, right? Because that's a pretty big, important part. So you can still stay in the legendary category, and like, so you can do the math. It's like, okay, so the Braidwood's more expensive, so we'll bump that up, but the Griffin Feathers are harder to come by, so we'll drop that rarity down. Let's say we get legendary everything. So this is like the maximum roll we could get with like a really high weaponsmith and like perfect items. This is the best roll you can get, even though the item has like a higher range roll possible. So that's how you play with the crafting calculator. Basically, you want to ask your artisans, hey, what's your quality crafting rating? And they'll tell you what it is with your armor and the food and the potion buff. And then you'll ask them like, okay, can you let me know when the town buff is up, and then I will have you craft this. And they say, okay. Or you can like, hey, here's all the materials. Whenever the town buff's up, go ahead and craft it, and then I'll pick up the 2-handed sword from you later on. So that's that. So profession planner. So in Ashes of Creation, you can only level up so many professions. So by default, you get every profession at novice. And you can only, so as you level, let's say we level up fishing up 1 level, so we certify it to apprentice. So we can get 4 more apprentice. Okay, so we're going to be a gathering person. We're just going to get all 5 gathering to apprentice. Okay, so if we want, so we're at 5 out of 5, so that means we want to bump up another one. We can't. We're already maxed out. We're only locked to novice now. So it's like, okay, so we can have 4 journeymen. So of these 5 apprentice, we can do a journeyman here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so let's say we're only gonna get apprentice fishing, and then we're gonna do journeyman for all the rest of the gathering. Okay, and that's the maximum we can do. And then down the line in the future, you know, okay, hey everyone, you can get to level 30. Here is the next tier of gear, right? You can go to master. Okay, so we can pick 3 master. 1, 2, 3. It's like, okay guys, you're at level 50. You can make the very best stuff, so you only get to pick 2 more that level up to Grandmaster. So this is like, so 2 out of 2, 3 out of 3, 4 out of 4, 5 out of 5. So this is like the maximum you can do for professions. This is the best way to visually explain it to anyone who hasn't seen it before, in terms of like professions. Recipe tracker, I don't actually know what this is. Let's see what it says when it loads here. Okay, so this is like a way to keep track of all of your professions. So let's say I am a jeweler. These are all the recipes that I can obtain. So I'll be like, okay, so I have the bone earrings, I have the bone necklace, the ring, and I have like 3 of these things down here, whatever they are. So you can see that's like, okay, you have 5 of those, but there's not like a way to like hide already learned ones or like show ones that I can collect. So I guess it's just good for like keeping an internal track. I don't know if this actually saves. So like, what if I like refresh the website? Yeah, so they get, okay, so they do get saved. I assume it's to my account there. So, so let's go back to jeweler. And I'm gonna unspec these because we're gonna have a wipe soon. So I don't want those like accidentally pre-filled in if I do go jewel crafting. So you can see all the different weaponsmithing, armor smithing, etc. So that's a good way to keep track. And that's pretty much it. You can click on the patch changes, and then you can like search. These are all of the different like tooltip changes that they had. These are all of the items, so like the before and the after. So it used to cost siege sandals, and now it doesn't. So the siege sandals were basically just a way to prevent people from crafting this until they were actually ready. So patch change logs, XP tables. This will show you how much XP you need to like level up both your character, weapon XP, your crafting XP, if you want to level up your guild XP, etc. And then tooltips. I don't know what this one is. Let's see. Okay, so tooltips, this is a way. So if you have your own website and you want to like host Ashes Codex stuff on it, this is the like the formatting that you use to like pull data from the Ashes Codex site so that you can use their tooltips. Yeah, and you can reach out to him. But that is pretty much the Ashes Codex stuff. I guess let me know if you have any questions. But yeah, that's pretty much it. This is basically I believe from what I've heard that this is the same person who made the New World database, and this is like the standard that people use in New World MMO for like their crafting and items and like the weapon perks and stuff. So yeah, Ashes of Creation Codex is like the baseline fantastic tool for like building out your leveling routes, seeing what other people have, looking at the level ranges of mobs, trying to path out where you want to go, what mobs that drop gear, and etc. So yeah, great website. I just wanted to do a showcase of it. I guess that's it. Goodbye then.